welcome to Saudi Arabia. We are live here in Riyadh for the 5th race of the FAI E-Drone Racing World Cup for 2024. And after today's race is finished, we'll know who will be our champion for the season. And all of this, of course, isn't possible without our friends. So our thanks to the FAI, in particular Bruno Delors, as well as the Saudi Federation for Cybersecurity, Programming and Drones, and of course Hugo and Alex and Eloan working so hard behind the scenes on Area Drone. Now, let's go racing! Let's go! The grand final. Decent start from everybody.
A perfect three-man connection here in Yayu, Ion, and Valprim. They're all so close to each other.
So keep your eye on him. He's been running pretty flawlessly so far. This is the grand final. We are underway. SP Pizza racing from home against everybody here in NAM1. Fenneman perhaps realizing how good these other 3 pilots are. He might be the 4th one to complete this race. Valprim further behind is completing their dive gates. We've got Thomas there in 3rd, out onto the straight line. SP Pizza is down in 4th. In front, it's just Yayu.
Super tight, super close between those 3 racers here, these 3 pilots. Yayu, Ion, Yayu, we don't know, we don't exactly know.
Down in 4th and probably staying there. Yayu making all these obstacles fly well, but no, into the cage and not out of that cleanly. Valprim's ahead of him. Is Fenneman going to pass his compatriot as well? Yayu spinning beautifully. The blue grates are no problem at all. He'll power loop, he'll dive, and he'll go to lap number 3, 4. It's over. It's Yayu is the champion. Well, we are live to you again here from the beautiful city of Riyadh in Saudi Arabia with a growing audience here surrounding me for the FAI's 118th conference since they started all the way back in the early 1900s. And now, of course, the future is with us. We are in the middle of our final event for 2024, the FAI's E-Drone Racing World Cup. We've had 4 incredible tournaments earlier on this year. This is the 5th and final one for 2024. We are at the sharp end of things now as we're going to find out who the winner is of our amazing track around the legendary location of Al-Ula. The champion of race 5 is shortly to be discovered, and then we'll know who's won the most points for the year, as the points from here in race 5 will be added to the 4 events that happened earlier on since we started back in May, and we'll find out who is the champion for the first ever E-Drone Racing World Cup Series. Our thanks to everybody at the FAI, most of all to Bruno Delors for all of his help, and to the Saudi Federation for Cybersecurity, Programming and Drones, and to the incredible Area Drone team who have been working. Here's the production shot there. You can see the guys. It looks quite casual and relaxed in there. I assure you it is anything but, as they have been working incredibly hard to get this. We have 8 of them remaining for race day 5. We're into the semi-finals, and we were having a small final and the grand final to follow as well. So the last 8 pilots ready to fly from their homes all around the world. Our pilots who remain are racing from the States, from China, from Norway, Latvia, South Korea, Japan, and one of the young pilots from Estonia still in the fight here as well. 8 pilots going to be flying on this track around Al-Ula. Let me give you an idea how it goes. We're going to dive down here, go through the outer one of these pairs of gates, as you see. That's the split S, come back for the second. Then we head to the incredible and real Elephant Rock. This has been in Al-Ula for centuries. You could never hang drone racing gates off of it in real life. Trust me, I've been there. But we're going to do it virtually now as we go over the top through this double set of cubes, and then a hard 180 turn to come through those cubes again, perpendicular to before. Dive down, make sure you head for the right gates. There's quite a lot of them vying for your attention. Some you use on the way up, some you use here on the way down. You saw there, just duck underneath. We come down to the desert level, go through the kicker here, a ramp upwards before a big 180 turn to come down, and then a split S will be how you finish lap number 1, start the second. It's 3 laps to do. There are the top pilots who made it to today's fighting. The top 32. We've been already through the round of 32 and into our quarterfinals. They finished just about an hour ago, so now we have 2 semi-finals and the small final before the grand final. The last race is ready for the 8 pilots still to remain. None of these pilots have won a race day in the E-Drone Racing World Cup so far in 2020. Exciting! The top 3 pilots in the world standings are not in the tournament right now. So there is a chance here for some of these pilots to break their way into the top 3 for the year. To do that, you've got to score as many points as you can, and to get those, you need to be in the grand final, so you're going to have to come first or second in the semis. First or second through to the grand final, third or fourth place into the small final, fighting for places 5 through 8. Into semi-final 1, we have G-Man, Max Heiligman, 38-year-old out of the USA, who's been performing better and better all year and had the fastest lap of anybody on this track up until a few moments ago. We also have MARJ, the 12-year-old pilot from China who we haven't seen before, but we do know Duona FPV, another 12-year-old from China, very well. She was 4th in qualifying here. She was 4th in qualifying last time. Last time, she was 2nd in the overall standings. Can she go one better today? Well, we're going to find out very soon. She's also been a fantastic champion in other tournaments. And as well as Duona, completing the lineup here, Fredrik Hogset from Norway, who told me he didn't expect to get out of the top 32. Here, he could get a spot in the grand final. G-Man, Marge, Duona FPV and Fred FPV are away for the first of our semi-finals now. G-Man has been in the front for all of the races he's been in, pretty much from start to finish, and he starts out strongly here. He's getting a bit of a gap between himself and the other pilots already. As you can see, Duona FPV not far behind. That's what we would have expected, as she's the only pilot who managed to beat his lap times. She currently holds the fastest one. She's racing in green and just nudging past G-Man to take the lead on the start of lap number 2. Duona FPV leads him around the top of the rock. This is how we expected this race to go. G-Man now having to fight a little bit more with Duona, and he's messed up on one of the dives. She's had to go back and correct that. That's let Duona FPV get a little bit further away, and her compatriot from China, MARJ, Marge, is coming for you, Max Heiligman. You've still got a decent amount of room between Max, G-Man in 2nd, Marge in 3rd, and Fred FPV, he's a little bit further behind in 4th, but never give up as he dives his way down Al-Ula and heads to the kicker. He's about to start lap number 3, half a lap ahead of him. Duona FPV pulling away now. G-Man with a little bit of clear time as well. The lap times have been very good for the first 2 laps. 3 of these pilots getting everything under 30 seconds. Duona FPV the only one to break 25, and she comes in 1st, and G-Man splits. Hits Al-Ula's Elephant Rock hard after the finish line. But a 1-2 for Duona FPV and G-Man. Marge will take 3rd. And that leaves Fred PV losing out here in the semi-final number 1, but he's not done as the small final awaits him. Didn't think he'd get out of the top 32, was messaging me in the interval before these semi-finals as well, saying, I'm shaking, I can't believe I've got this far. Yes, you have, Fred PV, and you've earned it. You've not had other pilots crash and ruin their races. You have earned your spot here. He'll be back in the small final with Marge. There's the lap times for those races so far. You can see the ones in green are the quickest, the ones in yellow are their slowest. Not exactly slow when you see a 25.87 from Duona FPV. That is faster than most people have managed to do at all, and she's doing it in a semi-final. G-Man's 27.6 is not great compared to his 25.4, but he can break 25 seconds. He needs to do so. He'll be in the grand final, and then Marge and Fred PV will be back in the small final. Marge finishing just almost 4 seconds behind 2nd place. Fred PV from that. FPV, the 12-year-old from China, the wonderful pilot who we've seen on the world stage, Yurang Shen from China. She will go through into the grand final. And then we have Max Heiligman from the United States. He's going to progress too. 4 pilots left in semi-final number 2. 2 spots available in the grand final. Semi-final number 2. We welcome Latvia, Korea, Japan and Estonia in this incredible international tournament that we have. This year has seen 41 different nationalities take part. We had many at the start of this. We've got 4 coming up in semi-final 2. They include Elmaz Misevic, who's the 16-year-old from Latvia, a legendary pilot and such an all-round nice guy as well. Black Bear FPV is constantly impressing, and he's just 13 years old out of South Korea. Matteo FPV we've seen in the World Championships with the Drone Champions League. He races normally with Raiden Racing. Now Yuki Matsuyama is here for his own grand final spot. And Chirp FPV, Morten Seemar, making the daddy of the Estonian team proud as well. His dad, Rage Quit, who runs the team, was in the qualifying, was in the top 64. Now he sees his son battling to get into a grand final, and he definitely is capable of getting there. A brilliant international lineup. Morten, Chirp FPV, 20th in the world rankings for the E-Drone Racing. Black Bear 6th and Emis was 39th, which seems a little pedestrian, but no, trust me, there are 217 pilots on that world ranking. This could be a really tight fight. This is a hard one to call. 2 spots in the grand final. And we are well and truly underway with Emis doing what he did in the quarterfinals and showing the Asian pilots that no, you don't have the front of this race all to himself, but Black Bear FPV is fighting with him. You see him now as he goes through the cage, and Emis just skips in front of him, alongside him, tighter around Elephant Rock as they descend down. They go to the kicker, and Emis is starting to leave Black Bear FPV behind. They cross over the line and start lap number 2. Emis gets there in a time of only about 1/100th of a second quicker than Black Bear FPV. Matteo, who's been so good and was second in qualifying, he is lagging a little bit behind now in 3rd, and possibly going to lose that to Chirp from Estonia as Chirp FPV is trying to go from 4th, past him into 3rd and up into 2nd. Black Bear FPV momentarily struggling, back on race pace now. He comes down for the start of lap number 3, just about holding on into 2nd place. Emis FPV out in front now by a good few seconds, putting a big gap between him and the challengers. Can Black Bear FPV from South Korea hold on, or is Matteo going to come and take it, or Chirp? Matteo just trying to leave Chirp behind. They've got too much to do, I think. We come down to the final parts now. Emis FPV is at the line and in the grand final. And Black Bear FPV is pushing for it now and secures it. It is Emis FPV from Latvia and Black Bear FPV from South Korea. They'll go to the grand final. Black Bear FPV is home, and Chirp FPV attempts to power loop the finish instead of split S-ing it. That was a bold, showy way to end. The race was already away from him. I like the bit of style, Morten, but the Estonian pilot finishes in 4th. The winner, Emis FPV again. Black Bear FPV doing brilliantly from South Korea. Japan's Matteo FPV, sadly, after being 5th in one of our earlier races and 6th in another one, he is not going to make it into the top this year. He is going to be in the small final, not the grand final. So a grand final race eludes him again, but we'll see what he can do in the small final. He's got a great chance of winning that. Emis winning out overall in a time of 3.4 seconds quicker than Kim Dong-hyun of South Korea. The 13-year-old Black Bear FPV who's been impressing us all season. His highest finish is 4th place in any of our races. He's into the top 4. He's guaranteed at least 4th again today. This be the one he wins. Emis, he was only in one previous race where he qualified in 9th and finished in 5th. For this race, he qualified in 3rd, and he's into the grand final. Is it his one to win? Soon. There are your grand finals and small finals. And I dare you to call a winner. You might err towards Duona FPV and G-Man, who have been the pilots, the only 2 today who have held the fastest lap record. Black Bear FPV could cause an upset. Emis is definitely capable. Can he keep up with Duona? Can he beat out G-Man? I like his chances of putting in a surprise. Before that, we're going to have the small final with Marge, Fred PV, Matteo FPV, and Chirp FPV. Of these 4 pilots, it is by far Matteo FPV who's the best known. We haven't seen him In many of the earlier races in the e-drone racing series in the top 4. Again, he hasn't managed to make it today, but for this event was his joint best qualifying, where he ended qualifying in 2nd place, so he is very, very good around this track. He's 5th in the world rankings as well. An interesting point there is that Black Bear FPV, who is going to finish higher than Matteo no matter what, Black Bear FPV was 6th in the world rankings. So Matteo might be losing that 5th place and dropping down to 6th. How everyone else does. The small final for places 5th through 8th lines up like this. Marge, the 12-year-old from China, a real threat for future races of the e-drone racing World Cup for sure. Gonna get 5th place here. Fred PV, who's just having the time of your life over in Norway. Keep it coming, Fred. Matteo, surely the biggest threat in this group, the only pilot we've seen on the international stages in many places around the world. Very, very famous pilot from Japan. Maybe slightly overshadowed by Yuki FPV, who from Japan is the FAI's reigning world drone racing champion, but Matteo FPV, never count him out from Japan. And Chirp FPV from Estonia, do or die time, Chirp, come and get it. The small final begins. And it is a tussle between the 3 pilots you might not have expected at the front of this. That is a bad start for Marge, who's just starting to slip. The 12-year-old from China maybe not going to do the big surprises that they thought it might, that people thought they might based on their earlier racing, as they're currently in 4th, just behind Fred PV. Ahead of them, Chirp FPV from Estonia, and it is Matteo, as expected, from Japan. The most experienced of these pilots. He is leading the way towards that 5th place finish in race 5. He weaves his way towards Elephant Rock. Nicely done. A little bit slower on one of those turns as he goes through the cages, giving the pilots behind a chance to catch him, and they are all starting to loom there. It's getting really tight around 2nd, 3rd and 4th. Chirp just trying to hang on instead of Marge. Fred PV dropped from 3rd to 4th, but very much in the fight. Chirp now up into 2nd, but maybe only momentarily. Matteo has got clear air in front of him. He probably doesn't realise the tussle going on behind for 2nd and 3rd. Chirp has come to a big crash in one of the gates. Is stuck there. Fred PV is right on their tail and crashes as well. Matteo charges to the line. He secures 5th place here, crossing the line and winning out the small final. Chirp FPV hangs on for 2nd. Almost 4 seconds behind Matteo. And then Fred PV is the pilot in 3rd. What a great achievement for him. He'll be 7th in the rankings. And we have Marge from China, a really dangerous new pilot who was running us many of us scared. Is 8th place in today's standings. What an incredible performance. And look at that first lap time for Marge. 28.3. That is a solid time out of the block. I told you how close 3 of the pilots were. A 28.3, a 28.3, a 28.2. But look at those second laps. All better. Marge is 26.8. That's an excellent second lap. Almost quicker than Matteo's 3rd. It just dropped off a bit. Fred and for Marge, they came in 3rd and 4th, which makes them 7th and 8th there. Matteo finishes in his season equaling best. Winner of the small final, that'll make him 5th in the grand final standings. David Muggs joins us, the president of FAI, no less. A very busy man, so thank you for your time, David. Tell me why everybody is coming here to Riyadh.
So this week is the 118th General Conference of the Federation, and that's an opportunity for all the members of FAI come together, make decisions on the future and the planning of the next year.
And 118 years, that is quite an amazing amount of time. Obviously, air sports has progressed. We're here doing an esports series with the E-Drone World Cup.
Well, FAI started in 1905, so quite some time ago. And now we have e-drones and e-drone sports starting in about 2018-19. It's been born out of the concept of a simulator that was requested in order to develop the e-drone competitions and the drone sports.
So a way of helping pilots practice for the real races that the FAI has been doing, but that simulator has become an activity in its own right.
Well, it certainly has, yeah. It's progressed organically to an event all of its own. Quite an exciting one as well.
Yeah. And you were at the first ever e-drone race, the standalone one that was at the WDRC in Namwon last year. What did you think of that?
I was fascinated. I've always enjoyed new technology, but that was run alongside the World Drone Racing Championships. But the whole event just lifted everybody that was watching. It was quite something to see first time around.
Yes. So this year, the first series of it, there are 5 events. We're in the middle of the 5th one right now. And then more in the future, we all hope. We all hope that this continues and becomes a regular part for the FAI.
Well, from what I see, this year's been successful, very successful. The development has been successful. So I see no reason why it won't continue into the next decade.
There we go.
Let's see where it goes.
Let's see that. Thank you very much, David.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Matteo there securing 5th, Chirp 6th, Fred PV from Norway in 7th, and Marge in their first race, 8th place. Let's talk about what we are simulating here in Area Drone. And if you want more about this, you can go to areadrone.com and find out about the 2025 plans when they're announced. You need to look at the FAI's site for e-drone racing and also areadrone.com. We're simulating a 475 gram drone, which is very low for a racing drone. Most real-life racing drones coming in up into about the kilo, but lighter is better and faster, of course. The 6S battery being simulated to get us up to a speed of 131 kilometers an hour. We can typically see about 160 kilometers an hour with more powerful drones, but this is the spec we're using to give people a chance to learn how to fly and to get the experience in a tournament like this. Simulator racing and flying being so popular now for so many people to get their first chance to fly drones without that all expensive a few seconds flight that many of us have experienced, myself included, sadly. So that's the track that awaits us for one more race of our finals here. Race day 5, the grand final is coming. And after that, we'll know who's the winner of race 5, and we will also know the final points for the entire 2024 season. Your grand finalists and the last race for 2024. Duona FPV, second a week ago in race 4 around the World Drone Racing Championship track in Hangzhou in China. Simulating it, she was second. Can she go first today? G-Man, the best tournament he's had for some time, if ever. The 38-year-old pilot who's been in the scene for some time, having his best performance in qualifying by being the best there. Can he get the first spot today? It's within reach. MSFPV Elmar Misovic from Latvia, the 16-year-old pilot that many think is the future of Latvian drone racing, including their most experienced competitor, Thomas Petersons. I was chatting with Topi. He was saying, Emis, when Topi retires, and don't do that yet, Thomas, please, but when Thomas retires, he said he's thinking Emis is going to be the one who's going to take up the mantle for Latvia, but they have many other great pilots coming up through the ranks as well. Emis is the one still standing today. And then Black Bear. Capable, very capable of being the one. Another 13-year-old pilot from South Korea. Not one of the Kims we know so well compared to Min Jae and Min Cho and other ones who have been doing brilliant performances at real life and simulator races recently. This might be Black Bear's FPV's chance to get his first win. It's been on the cards for a while. Your grand final of race day 5 in the 2024 season sees the brilliant young protege Duona FPV down in 4th place out of the blocks. G-Man, the only one who's been really battling with her, is just about ahead of Duona from China. Emis, again, is just about ahead of everybody. Emis and Black Bear, so close. Emis now getting away from Black Bear after some mistakes for them. See them falling a little bit behind. Black Bear with some catching up to do. Emis getting caught by G-Man. Duona's still just fractionally in the lead. G-Man trying to beat her. This is going to come down to thousandths of a second, as we often see in drone racing. There are only 600ths of a second between Emis and G-Man at the end of the first lap. Duona hanging on ahead of both of them. Duona trying to stretch from Emis. G-Man is letting it slip a little bit, but a podium place still within his reach. Emis from Latvia, Duona FPV from China. Got clear room between themselves, but it doesn't matter about 1 and 2 now. This is winner. This is your champion of your grand final. Second place doesn't get you to the next round. Second place sees the winner coming in front of you. G-Man to the line. Duona going there. Emis going there, but your winner fractionally ahead. It is Duona FPV from China. The 12-year-old prodigy Yuan Sheng, the brilliant new pilot who I first met 4 years ago when she was 8 and was racing in the Drone Champions League and dominating in things like the DCL Women's Cup. This brilliant young girl in China, Yuan Sheng, a 12-year-old female pilot, has just won race 5 of the 2024 E-Drone Racing World Cup season. What an amazing performance from her. She was second in race 4 a week ago. She has now gone to the top. She's won this race out. We only saw her in races the season prior to today out of 4. She's gone and won the grand final today. An incredible competitor, doing wonderful things for young people, doing wonderful things for the women's and girls drone racing scene as well. An amazing performance from Duona, and Emis from Latvia coming in second is a brilliant achievement for Emis. Third in qualifying, turns that into a second place in the finishing, and he was only, well, within 2 seconds, 1.8 seconds behind Duona at the finish. For a long time, Emis was in the lead there, but Duona is just so clean. Again, she breaks 25 seconds. Only her and G-Man have been able to do that at all. That man, Max Heiligman, he'll have to settle for third. But if I know G-Man, I hope he's definitely going to be absolutely delighted getting a third place there. That's one of his best performances in a tournament. What an incredible result from him. And Black Bear FPV, he's just 13 years old from South Korea. And the South Korean drone racing scene is in such great health in simulator racing, e-drone racing, in real life racing as well. Keep an eye out for Black Bear FPV. That's Kim Dong-hyun from South Korea. You are going to be seeing him many, many more times in races in the future years, I have no doubt. He was also 6th in the FAI World Standings for e-drone racing prior to this race. He's made it into the grand final. That's going to move him up. Is he going to break top 3? That might be a little bit out of reach. We're going to find out really, really soon when the FAI finish verifying the points. But we know that our champion here, Duona FPV, what an amazing end of season for her. 5. There's the points that they all claim. The points are based on the FAI's system as used in real life drone racing as well. So the more competitors in a tournament means you score more points than if you win out a tournament with fewer competitors in it. I won't go into the formula for you, but there is a way of calculating it. Duona FPV picks up 80 points to her FAI score. Emis gets 75 behind her in second. G-Man with 71 points. That is, I think, one of his biggest hauls, surely his biggest haul in the season. He was 13th in the world standings. He's going to hopefully make some moves upward. And then you can see Black Bear FPV followed by all the pilots who were in the small final, led by Matteo FPV. That's basically his joint best finish for the year. So that isn't going to hugely move Matteo up, but he was one place ahead of Black Bear FPV, and they've just finished the opposite way around. Black Bear FPV scoring 4 more points. Is that going to move him into the top 5 and knock Matteo out? It's getting worked out right now. Everything's got to be absolutely certain before we announce who our winners are for 2024, but we can definitely say that the 12-year-old girl Yiran Sheng, the best of people flying here in Riyadh around the legendary Al-Ula and its Elephant Rock. And here are your standings at the end of the season. Our first ever FAI E-Drone Racing World Cup winner is Yayu Swan Vermissen from France, the 18-year-old pilot who I met when he was 12 in Cannes at the Cannes Game Festival where a drone racing draft was taking place. There I met him and his family. I've had the pleasure of commentating on him as he's been world champion through the Drone Champions League and been fighting so well here in the FAI. He is the winner of the first ever E-Drone Racing World Cup